Comfort Dental to me is kind of like a Swiss Army knife. It's something that has so many different things that you can do to accomplish the things that you want to achieve. But at a certain point, you have to understand what kind of tools are even available to you. How many times have you looked at something on a Swiss Army knife and I'm like, I'm not sure what I'd use that for? The amount of time I've been with Comfort Dental in learning what that tool is and seeing what some other doctors do or what other practitioners might kind of use to benefit their current situation. It's really allowed me to look at what Comfort Dental is and be able to take the full advantage of what they're offering and all those many, many tools that are available to us.
Welcome to the Comfort Dental Podcast. Get a peek behind the mask with real people and real conversations.
Okay, so today I get to be with Dr. Dan Nguyen from Comfort Dental in Kansas City, Missouri. And Doctor, I'm going to set you up with an easy question. It's just basically, what is it that inspired you in the first place to become a dentist?
Honestly, to become a dentist, that path kind of started for me in high school. So I had a lot of mentors and people that kind of helped, I guess, form the idea of what I wanted out of life and in terms of a job that could help people, but also provide a good income and have some financial independence. So I had an orthodontist that I had a really good relationship with. He went to my church, and so I would shadow him, and eventually got to the path where, yeah, I got a scholarship at a high school that pretty much set the path for me. That as long as I got a certain GPA in undergrad, that I would actually have a seat for me ready in dental school, and it was a great thing to have, but also a lot of pressure to kind of make sure that I hit certain markers, to just not screw it up. And so I feel very blessed. And at the same time, I oftentimes kind of wonder, like, do I truly deserve to be here? But 12 years in now, I guess, or 11 years in to my over 10 years into being a dentist. And I'm like, yeah, I deserve to be here. I've come full circle on that.
Any dentist that graduates dental school, it's so hard. It comes with so many challenges. So my hat's off to you. Dr. Nguyen, was there a time where all of a sudden you knew, okay, I made the right choice with dentistry, whether that was like a year into practice, whether that was even just in dental school, where between the intellectual challenge and the physical challenge of having to be good with your hands, where you just knew this was definitely the right profession?
Yeah. For me, I think it was probably 5 years in. It took kind of a while for me. Sometimes it can take people a lot of different journeys, a lot of different time frames, and I talk a lot about that with a lot of my colleagues and people I work with. But for me in particular, about 5 years, and that was more of a combination of not just the dentistry, but understanding even Comfort Dental and understanding what it could do for me. And but I've always had a good relationship of where I went in terms of, because I bought right after dental school. So got done with dental school and immediately bought a partnership in Comfort Dental. And that was, for a lot of people in my class, not the path that people often took. So there was a lot of just living life for about 5 years. And then it felt like it just clicked, and it kind of was a very amazing moment to finally feel like, okay, no, this is it. This is where I want to be.
Yeah, getting thrust into dentistry is so challenging because dental school tries to prepare you for everything, but there's an entire business side, dealing with HR, team members, relationships with labs, all sorts of nuance that it's like you couldn't be prepared for.
Mhm.
You mentioned that not everyone was evaluating to go straight into a career choice like Comfort Dental. What was that attracted you to that model?
Well, man, it's just been so, it feels weird because it feels so long ago, and I used to have like such a good kind of scripted response for that question, and now it's been so long since I've had to even think about it that for me, a lot of it was, so my now wife had a uncle who was a comfort dental dentist, and so I talked to him a lot about the opportunity. And to be honest with you, coming out of dental school, some of the things you'd hear about comfort dental, you'd be like, is that too good to be true? Is that something that is actually manageable for someone who just graduated? And he was someone that, now he's considered family, and so that's someone I can absolutely trust. And he's like, no, these are things that I can do. These are things that anyone can do, and these are real numbers. And so, knowing the amount of debt that I had and the amount of things certain goals I had to kind of make for where I wanted to be financially after a certain time period, I was like, let's just jump in. And but if it wasn't for having someone like my wife's uncle to kind of show me that this is actually not something that is kind of a catch, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times as a new grad, you feel vulnerable. You feel like there's some things that, yeah, you hear it a lot, just people kind of getting taken advantage of and things like that. And so to have someone that was essentially family telling me, no, this is legitimate, was very, very helpful. I honestly don't know if it wasn't for that, if I would have took the leap that I did, but I'm glad I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So from what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the very beginning, making a decision for whatever career choice, I mean, there's a lot on the line, and there's just simply a lot that you don't know. So implied in that decision making is going to require some sort of trust. But you heard the stories. You heard the stories of classmates or peers that got taken advantage of, or people in previous classes. And then maybe this comfort dental model gets presented, and it kind of sounds like maybe it's a little too good to be true. So there's a little bit of reluctance there. And thankfully, like you said, you had someone that was actually on the inside that knew, like, hey, this is actually what it is. It really is that good. I could totally understand how you don't know. Well, who am I supposed to trust? Everyone's marketing their best, right? Everyone's saying this is what we can promise. And not all of them are able to deliver. So I don't know. I just thought you communicated that really well.
Yeah. 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 It's, that's definitely something I would say earlier you asked about, how long it took for me to kind of get to a place where I knew this was perfect for me. 5 years, but from a overarching kind of theme. But pretty quickly when I went into Comfort Dental, I knew like, no, Comfort Dental, this is the model that is right for me, because Comfort Dental does do things quite a bit different, and in my opinion, in such a good way. But yeah, I knew from the get that this was a good model. This was something that I could do, but clinically and clinically and intellectually, I just knew it was going to take some time to kind of get things caught up to speed, and that took about 5 years for me.
Well, I'm excited to get into some more of the specifics of the comfort dental model. But before we get there, I'm just curious, like, what is it that you love most about the work that you get to do every day?
Well, the work has consistently changed for the 10 plus years that I've been of Comfort Dental. And that doesn't have to be that way for every Comfort Dental doctor. That's just kind of the path I took. I've gotten to really scratch my entrepreneurial itch, I guess, because yeah, the things I'm doing now are completely different from the things I was doing from year one. And some people like that, some people don't. So in Comfort Dental, you can get all those roles kind of figured out. But currently, right now, what I really enjoy about where I'm at with my office is, we have hit, yeah, such a expansion standpoint or posture, I guess. We opened in 2021. So my original office, I got out of that, sold that partnership in about 2021, and then started another scratch start in the same year. So now in the early 2026, we're close to 11 chairs. Oh, we are 11 chairs. We could add easily another one. And it's just really cool getting to see how well we've grown, but in a way that's the the right way. Like we didn't grow in a way that is creating too much chaos, but to be frank, it's all chaos, but it's done in a way that the culture is just so exactly what I'd want in an office, the people I've surrounded myself with. the doctors to the staff, they're all just people that I enjoy going to work with. And the hardest part of the day is the dentistry, and that's the kind of the way it should be. But because yeah, taking care of teeth is hard, but you have so many other things happening at the same time. So, ironically enough, to me, the funnest part about dentistry right now is the things that aren't dentistry. So,
Okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like you realize that there's something very naturally about the way you're wired to be entrepreneurial.
mhm,
And that's not always the most common for a dentist to find that in themselves. You know, a lot of dentists, and there's nothing wrong with this, are just very content being chairside
mhm,
and practicing their clinical dentistry. And the business side, the uncertainty, the potential interfacing with risk is something they would rather avoid. On the contrary, it sounds like at some
mhm.
point you realized like, "Whoa, I like this." Was that around that 5-year point? And that's kind of where you realized like, "Yes, I'm glad I'm a dentist," or when did that connect?
So I think honestly, if you're gonna purchase a practice right out of school, I kind of knew that I had some sort of entrepreneurial spirit from the get go. But I think around the 5 year mark is when I started recognizing just for the time and the experience that I've had, that I just subconsciously had tools that just came easy to me and came that gave me, I guess, an upper hand in terms of running a business, running a dental office, and doing it in the model that Comfort Dental has given us. So around that 5 year mark, I guess, is when it just dawned on me that I can be more confident. That I would like to think I'm a humble person by nature, so I don't want to ever think that I have the answers to anything. And right around that 5 year mark is kind of when I started having that confidence. It kind of goes with that story I had about my, thinking that I didn't deserve the scholarship. I felt like there were more qualified people than me. All these sort of things that kind of made me question if I was deserving of something. And ultimately, I found out that I was. And so much like um, that kind of rhetoric or that story, right around the 5 year mark of being a dentist, I recognized, oh wow, no, I have all these tools. I have all these foundational things that would make me someone that could run an office successfully. So I should trust my gut more. I should be able to have more confidence. I should. So that was a release of weight, I guess, in terms of just owning my confidence with the things I was doing.
So the fact that you're still with Comfort Dental tells me, I think, something that Comfort Dental isn't just there to support dentists that don't feel entrepreneurial, that don't mind staying more, I don't know, in a conservative or playing it safe. And maybe those are the wrong adjectives. But the main point, I guess, what I'm picking up is that you becoming growth minded and being like, oh, I think I can double down on this or have confidence to say, hey, let's scale this a little bit. It sounds like Comfort Dental has actually supported you in the growth that you like, the appetite for growth that you've had.
Mhm. Yeah, so like you're mentioning, there's so many different types of dentists, and to have a system or a support like Comfort Dental that can. So I've been thinking about this a lot. Like I mentioned to you, there's so many different things that have gone through my head in the last 10 years being a Comfort Dental doctor. I think one of the most frequent things that keeps coming in my head the last year or couple months even, Comfort Dental to me is kind of like a Swiss Army knife. It's something that has so many different things that you can do to accomplish the things that you want to achieve. But at a certain point, you have to understand what a Swiss Army knife, what kind of tools are even available to you. How do you use, how many times have you looked at something on a Swiss Army knife and I'm like, I'm not sure what I'd use that for, or how that. So just, the amount of time I've been with Comfort Dental in learning what that tool is and seeing what some other doctors do or what other, practitioners might kind of use to benefit their current situation. It's really, allowed me to look at what Comfort Dental is and be able to take the full advantage of what they're offering and all those many, many tools that are available to us. So, yeah, I keep thinking of it like a Swiss Army knife. I don't know why that's something that's been resonating with me lately.
I mean, it's actually a very profound way of looking at it. And I think comfort dental is fine if people just use some of the more mainstream or common tools. But the fact that they have some of those less utilized tools, and there's doctors like you that are like, oh, but that's available. And
Mhm.
I can actually leverage that. Like, I think that's amazing. Dr. Nguyen, this is already very intriguing to me. I'm curious. So if you could go back and give advice to your younger self in dental school, what would you say?
Oh man, it's been so long since I thought about things like that that
Well, would you have given yourself
yeah.
permission to be a little bit more confident earlier on?
I mean, I'm so happy with where I am right now that it's kind of those situations where whatever that person was doing, right or wrong, led to where I kind of am now. So without those lessons, I can't be where I'm at now. So I will say that I've been fortunate enough that every single person I've worked with or interacted with or got to be a part of my journey within my old office and my new office have been absolutely formative as me as a person, as a dentist. The relationships I created with all the people, I don't know, I've been very lucky in that regard. So I guess in one regard is just to be not on as guard with everyone because strangely enough, every relationship I've kind of had in Comfort Dental has been such a positive one that sometimes you can kind of be a little bit more guarded when you meet people or dealing with your career. And so I had a colleague of mine early on who was just such a trustworthy person. And he's been so formative in my ability to just, see the good in people, trust people. And so to give myself in that way the Comfort Dental and to get back such good rewards, I guess, has been very nice. It sounds like I'm pandering a little bit, but it's hard to not be appreciative of the things that got you to where you are, whether they're good or bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in dentistry for, I don't know, 15 years. And I've spoken with a lot of dentists that found themselves so-called living the dream, having a practice, and yet on the inside, they just felt trapped. They didn't like it. They didn't know why. They thought maybe something was wrong with them. And then some of them had the courage to be like, dentistry is just not for me. And other people feel trapped, and there's some downside in dentistry where some bad things actually happen at times when dentists feel that way. But for you to come on here, and for the listeners that I'm assuming are either dentists in school or possibly established dentists that might be considering a transition or career change, to hear someone be like, look, like I love the arrangement that I'm in. I love the model that's here to support me. It's just really refreshing to hear, and I think it's something that a lot of dentists need to hear because there are options if someone's practicing right now and they don't like going to their practice. They don't like the dentistry that they've ended up with, that maybe checking out a partnership with Comfort Dental might make sense for them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And so in honestly, my path in Comfort Dental is, I don't know if it's necessarily the norms, but so one thing that comes to mind is, so currently right now for the foreseeable future, because we're in such a expansion posture, I'm kind of working like 2 days a week right now. Um, and just kind of focusing more on the business side. And at, we've just created a system right now that allows that to happen. And, because so my office in particular has some associates, and, so passively I have things coming in from those associates, which allow me to focus more on the business, but in really keeping our overhead in a good place so that the associates are profitable. But yeah, for me, sadly enough, I kind of recognize that clinically where I'd like to be in the next 5 years is, probably working a little less but here it is already. So it's kind of like a weird experiment. I don't plan on working 2 days a week for the foreseeable future I'd like to work a little bit more. I'm still pretty young, but currently right now, it's kind of a weird experience. I was like, well, why would I ever really stop if I could somehow work 1 to 2 days a week and make a good income? So Comfort Dental has allowed me to do that. So it's been good so far.
I mean, to me, this is, I guess what I'm hearing is like, even if Comfort Dental is set up for maybe more of a broadly traveled path where dentists can be successful, even a dentist that doesn't necessarily fit that path, that is more, I don't know, trailblazing, whatever, whatever you want to
Mm,
call yourself, that it still seems like they're really supportive of you, which I don't know, big companies typically don't have that agility to support that. So I'm shocked that they are doing it at such a high level. That's very impressive. That speaks volumes to their ability to truly support practitioners in the way that they're wanting to practice.
yeah. Well, so my wife actually worked for a franchise when I was living in well, when I was going through dental school in Lincoln, Nebraska. So she worked for this company called Hobbytown, which is a franchise. So she oftentimes would tell me how hard it is to run a franchise or to keep franchises honest. And now that I see how Comfort Dental as a dentist or dental franchise has established itself, it is so very different even than just the regular idea of what a franchise is. They really give it depends because, they have a brand to protect. They have so I was also in a fraternity in undergrad. So fraternities, for better or for worse, have a lot of different reputations. But when one dentist does something, or sorry, when one fraternity member does something, it reflects on the whole organization. So sometimes I used to think about that as kind of how Comfort Dental works. You're worth with all these great dentists, but if someone has to happen to have a mishap or something, it kind of speaks volumes for the whole organization. So corporate or franchise corporate has a very difficult job of, making sure that they give the space, but then also have standards. So, understanding that Swiss Army knife and understanding the tools that are available to me, you know, if you're going to have that type of tool or that type of device, you have to recognize how ever was even created and how. So I respect and know all the things that were there before me that gave me the ability to be entrepreneurial, to use Comfort Dental. And so, just because my path is necessarily different, I don't know if it's something where a corporate's going to be like, hey, yeah, this is something that everyone can do. But they've been so nourishing to, they don't want to stifle creativity or entrepreneurship. Or so, they have an operations manual that they give every office, and they oftentimes update it and making sure that you understand what are the actual true things that we really that the franchise really wants to have foundational in every office. So as long as you got those things, you can move on from that and use that tool to the best of its ability. But your office has to have these things. And so as someone that is entrepreneurial but still needs like guardrails to know what's going to keep me on the right path, the operation manual honestly is probably one of the biggest assets that we have that every office has that I don't know if everyone reads, but it's it really helps to read that thing and kind of see in definition what Comfort Dental is really meant to be. So anytime I think I'm getting too out of the left field of things, we oftentimes just say, go back to the basics. So you read something that's more foundational and you're like, understand what that is and go back to thinking about something from that perspective before you just start going off the rails.
How organizations handle innovation, especially when it comes from like the bottom up, right? Is a fascinating case study. And if I was an investor, which I doubt investors are listening to this, but if they were, I would double down on Comfort Dental because to know that they're handling it the way that you're, again, looking at different things or testing different models within their ecosystem
Yeah.
It's just yeah, it's amazing. Okay, so back to your practice really quick. Just tell me a little bit about your practice and the community you serve.
Yep. So I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm living a dream. So I've always wanted to have a more urban dental office. And so I live right in Midtown Kansas City, Missouri, in a little neighborhood called Union Hill. It's about literally a 5-minute walk away from where I actually practice. So I walk to work, which I think at one point I got to brag a little bit that I might be the comfort dental doctor that lives closest to where he actually works, which
Oh, wait,
for
even in the Kansas City winters or the
yes, yeah, I mean, it's if anything, that's kinda more ideal because usually I, will hunker in and kinda just get in everything nice and warm, and yeah, I know you're in Arizona, so it's just it's kinda crazy to think about, but no, I enjoy walking to work, and I enjoy getting a little bit of fresh air, but also just, yeah, getting to serve the people that even live around me. I never thought I'd be someone that could build kind of a community around a dental office, but I'm definitely known as a dentist, kind of at least to my close neighbors. So yeah, the office is started in July of 2021, and we are now approaching early 2026, and I think last year we were just shy of collecting about $3 million. So it's we have a lot of dentists in our office. We have 3 owners and 3 associates, so it's a lot of dentistry going on. But yeah, so it's turning into quite a machine, but I, wanna make sure we do it right.
So what makes your office feel different when a patient walks in the door?
Oh, yeah. Um, it's hard to exactly put a finger on it. We have I wish our reviews were a little bit better, but we have about a 4.7 average review out of, 1,000 some reviews.
That's
So
amazing.
I don't know how we got to there. I think we have some good systems in place that just do good follow-ups with, asking patients to leave reviews. But so that kind of goes back to the humble nature of myself. Sometimes the great reviews we were getting, and you could tell they're real people. So I was like, I don't know if there's something on the side that's somehow ramping up our numbers, but you could tell these are real people saying really nice things about the office. And so I think we definitely gear a little bit more blue collar, and people just really appreciate a nice. I think the location also kind of helps because where we are, we have people that, sadly enough, probably don't even have homes. They come into the office and they're in a nice office. They're getting treated well, but then we also have people living in like $1 million homes just right around the corner, and they're coming to the offices too, and they're sitting in the same lobby together, but they just kind of like understand that, well, we're in the middle of the city. This is a nice office. These are good people, and they're treating everyone nicely. So it's kind of a cool thing to see sometimes because only in a dental office in the middle of Kansas City, Missouri, in an urban environment where you kind of have just this understanding that if you're being seen by good people, that this is a unique thing, and everyone just works well together, and just so that kind of makes me feel like it's a little bit different.
That seems very different, even across the board from what I understand, because accessibility to care seems like one of the core foundational offerings that Comfort Dental makes sure it is in place, accessibility to care. And so that doesn't always align with people in $1 million homes
Yeah.
also getting care.
It
Is that a dynamic that
it
they've kind of remarked on as being different?
it will surprisingly, if you crazy enough, if you think about it. So if someone is financially independent enough where they are, under the age of 65, they no longer work, and they, don't have any place to provide insurance benefits to them. Having a place that has something like the gold plan, or discount plan just makes a lot of sense for them. They just, they don't want to pay some crazy premium for something that they're not really going to even use because they only need cleanings.
Mm.
So, you know, um, weirdly enough, yeah, if you don't have insurance, you have people that just need to find something affordable because they don't have the income to support it. So that's our, a lower demographic. But then they're also sitting next to someone that is so financially independent that they don't want to have to pay for insurance off the marketplace or off to somewhere that's going to cost an arm and a leg. And so they found a good deal in this office that's right down the street from them. And so, yeah, I have both those patients and accessibility to both those patients somehow. And so, yeah, I don't know if you can really do that in much different areas in Kansas City, but it really works right where where I'm located, where you got people kind of living in the city because they want to live in the city, so they know they're gonna see lots of different things.
So how would I mean, you kind of alluded to this about your team being amazing, but, like, how would you describe the culture of your team?
Collaborative. We talk about that all the time. That, like, I don't know if they recognize this or not, but I try to be very intentional when I talk about my team. That I say things like, "These are my coworkers. They're not my staff." I try to put everyone on the same playing field, whether you're even owners or associates or staff members, because I, I've been in parts of that journey when you just don't have a team that really feels like they have your back, and it's really isolating. So when you have a team that really feels collaborative and feels like you're working towards a common goal, it's something that I really appreciate. And so I have people on my team now that are working at, over 10 years. So I've only been practicing since 2014. So, but, I've had people with me now that were there from day one.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing that you even said collaborative though, because the feel of a dental practice is something that patients, I don't know, they may not be able to articulate it, but they can sense it, whether it's fragmented, where every man's for himself, whether there's kind of like disharmony and they're like, I don't know what's going on between the front desk and back, front office, back office. So to feel like there's some sort of unity in a collaborative sense, yeah, you can feel that almost like at an energy level. So that's amazing. I'm curious, just when it comes to like patient care philosophy, like how would you define great dentistry for your patients?
So, so speaking to how we were so collaborative, I actually think that might be one of the reasons why our reviews are actually as where they are. I mean, that, well, two things. I think it's because we're collaborative, but also because I think the comfort dental model, even when you are in your most stressed point, as long as you follow the comfort dental model or what, Rick Kushner, the CEO, kind of established, it just lends itself to getting better patient experiences. So for the patient experience, they're seeing us be collaborative. They're seeing us kind of get to kind of a vibe that just feels more comfortable. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right that the patients kind of feel that. So I feel like I'm getting a little off on what that question was, but but yeah, you know, to me, the team is so important for that patient experience. And I think patients can definitely sense that.
I know you mentioned that like sometimes maybe the more difficult part of your week is the actual, you know, dentistry because some of the other things seem like they come so naturally to you. But are there certain procedures or areas of dentistry that you specifically enjoy?
So we are. eh, I am a very bread and butter dentist. A lot of comfort dental doctors will probably tell you that too. I mean, every type of dentist in the comfort dental model. But for me, my hands are best spent just doing fillings and deep cleanings and kind of just managing those type of experiences. But I think the thing that I really started to understand right around that 5 year mark was what a niche it is to have the capabilities to meet every patient where they are. So I guess this kind of harkens back to the question you're kind of asking earlier. But essentially, what I think we do really good, I hate to say this, but if you're going to see patients of every demographic, you can't treat every patient the same. So I think there's probably a lot of dentists that would kind of freak out when if they heard you say something like that because you want to go into everything so didactic that you just treat everyone the same. But every patient isn't the same. And it even comes down to what's in their pocketbook or what's available to them with even their time, what they have available to them. So you have to kind of discern and know what is going to be the best for the patient sometimes. I mean, it's not always going to be maybe exactly on the nose, but, the ultimate goal for me initially is, if to keep people out of pain. So if I see things that are going to cause pain, I want to address those things first. Or if they, God forbid, are in pain, which happens a lot in our system, you just want to address those things first. And then naturally, if they see how you work as a dentist, how you got them out of pain, they just will naturally trust you to start guiding them down another path, which is hopefully to be comprehensive care. So yeah, finding that niche and really getting good at that was something that I feel like was a superpower. It's, that 5-year mark. I was like, I can really do good for patients with this model, but it's a little bit different than everyone else's way of going about things.
Well, it sounds like you also have a knack for, I don't know, seeing people or understanding where they're at. Like you said, serving every individual as an individual and trying to create, I don't know, treatment plan based off of exactly what they need. There's some individuals that are kind of anxious when they're going to the dentist, nervous, maybe a little scared. Is there something you do specifically to try and kind of put patients like that at ease?
Yeah, I'm a pretty, maybe, now that I have 2 kids, a little bit more less, but I consider myself a pretty big extrovert. So, I love talking to people. I like getting to meet people and know people. And hopefully that translates well when I even meet strangers in a dental office. So I often tell patients that are anxious that, I just want you to like me. And so if we get to that established first and you like me, then you can trust me and that you're always able to tell me something like, hey, I'm uncomfortable or I don't like where this is going. And, being this far into my career, I also know the type of relationships or the type of people that my personality just doesn't vibe with or doesn't. So I find, or I have a script at least that allows me to give that patient an out, I guess, and myself an out really, so that they can find another dentist that does nail the markers for them that will give them a comfortable environment. So I don't try to push it. I don't try to push a patient onto me. And so I think I just have a good knack, I guess, for knowing, the types of patients that I'm successful with. And if they don't hit those markers, then, it's not good for anyone. It's not good for them, not good for me. So let's help them find someone else. And it might be in the same office. It might be one of my associates or one of my partners. Um, but me and my associates and my partners I work with, we're kind of on the same page as well. So, you know, usually if there's a patient that kind of doesn't fit the right mold for the office, we just know kind of the right things to say to help them find maybe an office that does fit them better.
Okay, I'm kind of blown away by what you just said because that takes such maturity to get to a place where you can give yourself permission to be like, this practice is really good at serving these people. And if you don't fit that, I don't know if we're really a good fit instead of changing our DNA, instead of changing who we are authentically.
Yeah, Sean,
Maybe.
that's the exact script we have. That's like verbatim how what we exactly say to patients is exactly what you just said. It's just that like, hey, maybe it's just not a good fit. So yeah, you took the words literally out of my mouth.
Oh, is that something at Comfort Dental, corporate training that is kind of a line out of their manual, or did it kind of come from something that they shared that was more foundational, and then you guys kind of built on that?
Honestly, no. So I was gonna say no. Someone probably whispered that into my ear from corporate, but I know for a fact that Rick Kushner, our CEO, has said there is no wrong patient. He's literally so that last 10 minutes of all that entire conversation, he'd probably be pulling his hair out a little bit because he'd be like, "No, every single patient is a good patient. We can see every patient." And so foundationally, that was kind of like the existential pull I guess I had early in my career is that, realistically, you want to start the foundation of saying every patient can be the perfect patient or the best patient or someone you can see. But then you have to know where those limits lie. And so, yeah, definitely a level of, emotional maturity to know what your kind of limits are. So I always tell my coworkers and my, new grad dentists that come to me to kind of talk about stuff that I do not envy those first few years of becoming a new dentist because you don't know what your limits are. You don't know what this, so you just have to kind of just see everything and just have to kind of just like find out. But I feel like I did the time. I did the time. I saw everyone, and then started to recognize the types of personalities or the types of patients that just didn't really mesh with my way of doing things the best, and just ultimately, it's the best thing for them. It's the best thing for me that it just doesn't always nail it. So but before I got to that point, which is probably honestly that 5-year mark again, I saw everything. Really took Rick Kushner's words to heart to be like, you got to find the way to make everyone your patient. So yeah, I would say foundationally, as long as you start there, then you go about the right way of, making sure that you can kind of curate the kind of patients you want to see. I did have another comfort dental dentist once tell me like the the type of patient that you see and the type of patient you keep wanting to see, if you keep treating those types of patients, you're going to see more of those patients. So whether they're good or they're bad, it just tends to lend to itself that the types of patients you're already seeing, if you keep seeing those patients, you're going to see more of those types of patients. You have patients that need that certain type of treatment. Well, you're going to see more patients if you keep treating that. You're going to see more patients that need that kind of treatment. If you start doing implants, if you get really good at it and you see a patient that has a good experience with it, you're going to get referred another patient that wants some implants. So it kind of it happens for hard treatment like an implant. It also happens with patients that have a certain type of personality. So at least that's been my experience. So I think now I've kind of curated patients that really meld well with my personality, and I keep seeing more of them. So I like where my office is headed that way.
It sounds like you have a really interesting perspective that can help lots of dentists that maybe don't know that they can try to do dentistry a little bit more in their terms. And you're not advocating for like the type of patient that you want to see being like this really small, you know, niche down group. You're just saying ultimately when it comes down to it, there's some outliers that aren't a good fit. I imagine you guys are really good at actually embracing and meeting the needs of so many different types of patients. So just to kind of clarify, like you're not actually saying like, oh yeah, just double down on some super small thing and just say no to everything else. And yet, I don't know, just going back again to Comfort Dental and the model. The fact that there are so many different dentists that can thrive in this model, doing dentistry in a way that's going to be life giving and fulfilling to them. That to me is just incredibly profound. And I'm guessing you probably didn't know that on the front end, right? When you joined them. I mean, you heard some great things from your uncle, but it's like,
Yeah.
in what ways do you feel like Comfort Dental has really even supported your practice growth? Because you mentioned again, you've already bought and sold the practice, and then now you're doing a ton of hiring because it sounds like you just keep expanding in the location that you're at right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Well, work life balance. So, curating those patient base was making sure that, emotionally and just the things that we take home with ourselves sometimes can be kind of exhausting. And so to practice in a way where, yes, you are curating the world that you kind of want, I guess. So Comfort Dental has given me growth to do that. And I have to also understand and know that the things that I want now are going to be different than the things that I want later. And they're definitely different than the things I wanted initially. I have a partner that just started in our office. She's been with us. She bought into the office in October, and she's already making more than me, but she's also working a lot harder than me. And it's funny because I started the same rhetoric with her initially. I was even telling her, like, I don't envy those first 2 years. It's the thing that I told every new grad, when they started working even in Comfort Dental. I was like, those first 2 years are so tough. And she was like, no, I'm having fun. I'm doing, and I'm looking, I was like, you're the only person I've ever met starting out that would say the first year is fun. But she is so different than me in that sense because, yeah, I mean, partially the first few years in Comfort Dental for me, my priorities were different. I didn't have, I, wa- I, I definitely was comfort dental. A lot of times we like to say, you work hard, you play hard. I probably was hitting the play hard a little bit more so in the initial part of my career. And so probably why it took a little bit longer for me to get to that 5-year mark. Um, but so where I'm at now with all that expansion stuff and really trying to focus on my career and that mindset, I'm seeing dividends in that in terms of my work life balance. As much as I mean, as much as I say that working 2 days a week is kind of necessary right now because of administratively and where the office is expanding, that's how much it's kind of taking out of me. I think ultimately what will happen in the next couple of years, hopefully, is some of that administrative stuff will slow down a little bit, and then I can put more clinical hours. And it's going to be exciting to kind of see what my take home kind of does with that because currently I can work less right now because the associate model we kind of have is driving a lot of passive income for me right now. But when I look at my partner who is not worried about passive income at all and is just doing dentistry, she is making almost twice as much as I am. So it's really cool to see that just even within my office, there is flexibility of how I can take home money at the end of the day, whether it's kind of focusing more on doing something passive or it is passive, but not really passive, but more
But
passive than.
you're generating from not being chairside.
Yes, correct. Yes. Yeah. I think dentists oftentimes get kind of a wrap around the idea of what is truly passive. And I would say any dentist not putting clinical hours in, but still managing the office to a certain degree that's not passive. You're still doing a lot of things. So, but it is creative and kind of cool to see that my office is set or primed that it can kind of change. So really unique thing about my office, yeah, how open we are to changing things and it can change from month to month. How many shifts we work in a month, how many just a lot, yeah, a lot of different things we can do. We've poised the office to be able to be flexible, which is great.
So it sounds to me like whether you are a partner with 2 or 3 other partners, or whether you are a partner with a few others, and then you also have an associate model, whether you want to be 4 or 5 days clinical or only 2 days clinical with a little bit more administrative duties, you can pretty much find some sort of balance that is going to support whatever interest you have. And Comfort Dental has a model that supports all of that.
Hmm. Like in month to month, even, which is I think one of the things that at least in my office the doctors really appreciate that. I think we're in our office. We're such we're kind of a fun bunch, and we kind of like to do things a little differently. So the fact that like our work week is totally different every week. Sometimes we work this many shifts. Other times we work this many shifts, and that partner I was just even talking about, she one of her things, the last schedule we made, she was like, I actually was kind of hoping I could get more diversity in the types of shifts I'm working. I want to work PMs, I want to work mornings, I want to do a 12, I want to do a 9 to 5. She's like, it's kind of when I keep doing the same type of shift over and over again that I think I get kind of antsy. So she likes that sense of feeling movement and flexibility and changing. And then my other partner, her flexibility in the office has been great because, so she actually has family that lives in another country. So she was able to just take off, almost 3.5 weeks so that she could go kind of take almost like a mini sabbatical. And the office was still there working for her. And she was able to kind of, we and my other partner were holding, and then there's times when I take off a good amount of time and then they're there helping support the office. So it is, as much as I am an entrepreneur, it is great how much sometimes I get to even take a step back and just let the office run itself since I have partners who are there helping me out. So not sure if every comfort dental is that way, but we've created a very flexible situation, a very fluid situation, and it can change from month to month. And that's hard on staff sometimes. But like I said, we're so collaborative that the staff is all on board and they get it and they like it too. It's that feeling like you're in a rut. that can kind of get to you sometimes. And because what we've done in our office is always changing and always moving and flowing, I feel like no one really gets stuck in a rut.
Okay, so Dr. Nguyen, if I'm a dentist, a non-comfort dental dentist, and I am stuck in a rut, and I'm exhausted and I'm fatigued, and somehow I'm a little disillusioned because I thought dentistry would going to be more fulfilling and I could just live this life where the community sees me and I feel the same way that the community sees me. The community sees me as someone that's supposed to be successful and crushing it, and yet I feel trapped and burnt out. What do you say to that dentist?
Oh man, I'm such a person that is always going to never project what I think someone else is going through. So it's hard for me to truly tell anyone what they should be doing with their life because the world is an existential place right now. We're all kind of going through different things and we're all kind of going on our own journey. And sadly enough, there are times when I have people reach out to me or friends that kind of have even those sentiments. I have to kind of just tell them where I come from and what worked for me because for me, I really wanted to find something that gave me financial independence, gave me good work life balance. And for me, that was comfort dental. It might not be that way for everyone, but there are times when I look at people who just don't even really give comfort dental the time of day because they think it's too overly corporate or they think it's something that's too good to be true. It and there are examples I have where I know people in comfort dental have had a tougher journey too, because they just found themselves in a situation where it just wasn't exactly what they wanted at first either. So it takes the right kind of mindset, but it's all there in terms of exactly what you could want from dentistry. I have actually one of my best friends. So I feel like now I've kind of talked about other people now that I'm wondering like, well, hopefully they're all okay with me talking about other people because whether they consented to it or not, because these people could probably, if they somehow got wind of this podcast, hear themselves out a little bit and they're like, is he talking about me? But I do have a friend that actually went the comfort dental route, got out of the comfort dental route and constantly tells me back to me, and he actually would not have a problem with me saying this. He often tells, he's like, comfort dental is doing it right. He's like, I'm on the other side of it now, and I see the way you guys are doing it, and that model, yeah, it's it's exactly what would be the best ideal situation that you'd want in a dental office, and yeah, so it's all I know is a comfort dental model. So it's hard for me to present my case to someone who's going whatever they're going through and tell them that I know exactly how to get them out of that rut or get them out of those emotions. But for me, comfort dental has worked out very well for me. I'm very happy that I just took that leap of faith. Yeah.
It has been very insightful, eye opening, and really refreshing getting to talk to and interview a dentist that it's just more out of the box and yet also has such a healthy respect for individuals that are maybe just more the traditional science-minded chair-side dentist that just doesn't want to have to generate leads, doesn't want to have to do some of the things that, a solo GP might have to do because they have Comfort Dental as their partner, because Comfort Dental has their back. And yet to see someone that is different and yet still succeeding, it just opens up my mind even to be like, wow, like who's Comfort Dental, who can't win in this model? With Dr. Dan Nguyen teaching people how to win. That's so corny. You're like, I've heard that before. But really it has been an honor. Yeah, thank you so much just for letting me interview you today.
No, appreciate it. Thank you for kind of leading me down the first podcast. And sometimes you don't know how you're going to kind of sound off in it. So it was nice to have someone that gave me such a comfortable environment to talk.
Thank you for listening. You can learn more about Comfort Dental at comfortdental.com.